For the next unit, we're going to examine digestion, and today we'll look at an overview of the organs involved in the digestion of food, together called the gastrointestinal tract. So here's a look at the journey that food takes once we take a bite out of it. The first thing we do is start chewing. The action of our teeth and tongue to break up the food begins our digestive process and can be classified as mechanical digestion. And by mechanical, I mean physical movement. Second, our salivary glands secrete saliva, which contains water, salts, mucus, and importantly, digestive enzymes like salivary amylase. The saliva moistens our food and lubricates it so we can swallow it easily, and the enzyme salivary amylase digests carbohydrates, and this action can also be classified as chemical digestion. When we swallow, this mixture of food and saliva is called a bolus, and it travels down our esophagus. The wall of the esophagus is quite muscular and moves food down from our mouth into our stomach through peristalsis. This is a series of coordinated contractions and relaxations to push food along. Peristalsis is another type of mechanical digestion, and these muscles are so strong that foods and liquids can't travel backwards, which means we can eat or drink something upside down or even in outer space, and the food or liquid will still reach our stomachs. The stomach is a large J-shaped organ below the diaphragm and it has two sphincters. The cardiac sphincter receives food from the esophagus, and the pyloric sphincter on the other end connects the stomach to the small intestine. The walls of the stomach are called rugae, and they flex and relax to churn food in our stomachs. The stomach will release its own secretions, hydrochloric acid, mucus, and enzymes. The acid, pH 2, kills most bacteria in our food and denatures the proteins in the food molecules. The mucus protects the stomach lining from the acid. Pepsin, a digestive enzyme, becomes activated and begins digesting those same protein molecules. Another enzyme is called gastric lipase. Gastric meaning stomach, and lipase coming from the word lipid for fat. Thus, as you might imagine, gastric lipase digests fats in this organ. So whereas chemical digestion for starches began in the mouth, chemical digestion for proteins and fats begins in the stomach. The small intestine is the next organ along the digestive tract. It is called small because its diameter is narrower than the large intestine, but it's actually much, much longer. It's divided into three regions, the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum, because each region has different functions. But first, back to the stomach. The mixture of stomach secretions and food is now called chyme. After enough time, the pyloric sphincter relaxes and the chyme slowly enters the duodenum of the small intestine. The duodenum also receives secretions from the pancreas, in particular sodium bicarbonate to neutralize this acid, and a plethora of digestive enzymes like trypsin, pancreatic amylase, and pancreatic lipase. These enzymes digest proteins, starches, and lipids, respectively. As chemical digestion for these molecules began in the mouth and stomach, pancreatic enzymes continue this process, breaking them down into smaller and smaller molecules. The duodenum also receives bile salts from the liver and gallbladder. Bile salts aren't enzymes, but rather they are detergents. That is, they can dissolve oils and water. Since oil and water don't mix, pancreatic lipase found in the water cannot reach the fats in our food, so bile mixes this oils and salt water so the lipases can now reach the fatty molecules and break them down. As an aside, the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas are accessory digestive organs. They help us digest food but never directly receive food, which is why they're considered accessories. The pancreas secretes digestive enzymes and sodium bicarbonate into the duodenum. The liver produces bile salts, which are then stored in the gallbladder. The gallbladder doesn't make the bile, it just stores it for the next time we eat a fatty meal.